On the 22nd of January, 1879, Britain would suffer its greatest ever defeat, ever inflicted on by a native African army, where a force of over 1,500 British troops were annihilated by a force of over 20,000 Zulus from the Zulu army. Hello everyone, my name is Logan, and today I will be talking about fatal decisions made by the British troops at Isandlwana. Now, I'm sorry if my hair looks wet, I just got out of the shower, and now just decided to film this video. Now, I don't know how long this video will be. It might be 15 minutes, 10 minutes, or 5 minutes long. There's not much to talk about, but I will be getting into it. Now, many people could be blamed for the Battle of Isandlwana, ranging from Lord Chelmsford, Colonel Anthony Durnford, Colonel Henry Pulleine, the commissariats, and the NNC. Now, let's get into the first man we're going to talk about, Lord Chelmsford. Now, on the 21st of January, when Chelmsford set up camp at Isandlwana, he did not set up any defensive positions by lowering his wagons into a defensive position or entrance position, like the Boers would have did. That was the first fatal decision. The second one was at around 4:30 a.m., when a scouting party, mainly consisting of the NNC under Rupert Lonsdale, had found the possible vanguard of the main Zulu army at around 4:30 a.m. Chelmsford split his column into two, taking half his force, leaving his 1,000 troops at the camp. That was the second decision he made. Now, an argument could be blamed that it wasn't really Chelmsford's fault since he wasn't in command of the camp and since he wasn't there. But he shall take the blame for half of his decisions he made, and as he was the commander of the number 3 column. Now let's get into our second man, Colonel Henry Pulleine himself. Pulleine, who had been left in charge of the camp by Chelmsford, he was not as experienced as commanding a battlefield as Chelmsford was. And when Lieutenant Charles Rawle's scouting party had found the main Zulu army, when Pulleine ordered his men up to the firing line, he put his firing line too far wide then. They were over half a mile from the camp and over half a mile wide. This would create a British thin red line. In the second, Pulleine, when he reordered his men back to the camp, it inspired the Zulus to charge. And he also had a mistake of sending E and F Company up onto the Talihani Spur and then pulling them back down to join the firing line. Now, as we show, let's look at the men under Pulleine. Under Pulleine consisted of 5 companies of the 1st, 2nd, 24th, and then G Company of the 2nd, 24th, being commanded by the most senior officer there, Charlie Pope. And then there was also 2 7-pounder Royal Artillery guns under Captain Stuart Smith of the Brigade Royal Artillery. And there was also a rocket battery, which Durnford would take out. Now, speaking of Anthony Durnford, he is the third person that we're going to be talking about. Anthony Durnford, who had been left back at Natal when Chelmsford started his invasion to protect the Natal border just in case of any Zulu counterattack, had been moved up to Work Strip, and just a couple of days later, when Chelmsford split his column, Durnford would be moved up to reinforce Pulleine troops at the camp. Now, Durnford, who was in command of the NNH, Natal Native Force, and the NMP, Natal Mounted Police, Durnford's force consisted of 500 strong, and all of it was cavalry troops. And they were all black native troops as well, also with white troops of the Natal Mounted Police. Now, when Durnford arrived at the camp at 10:30 a.m., he sat down and ate lunch with Pulleine, but at that time, Zulu scouts were still being found in the area. So Durnford came to the conclusion that Chelmsford was going to be encircled by those small Zulu groups and they were going to attack his rear. Now, Durnford, who had seniority to Pulleine, and who should have took command when he arrived at the camp, he did not take command, and he rode off his 500 troops to the north and the east. Now, Durnford, who would do a good job at holding the Zulu left horn back when he would push his men into a donga, dried up donga known as the Niagani donga. And let's talk about the NNC, the next failure we're talking about. The NNC, who most likely were positioned behind the British firing line since they were basically just Zulus, but they wore a red headband over their heads to identify as British auxiliary allies. They were basically Zulus. They had the same thing, and there was only 1 rifle per 10 men and 10 rounds of ammunition per man. As they were positioned behind the British firing line, and as they could see the mass groups of Zulus coming from the Zulu chest, they collapsed at a crucial moment. Running away from the battlefield, the NNC collapsed at a crucial moment. That is another failure of the British. And let's talk about the commissariats, or quartermasters. The commissariats, who did not have proper screwdrivers to open ammunition boxes, which this would delay a crucial amount of ammunition being delivered to British troops. Now, the British troops at Isandlwana had over 1 million rounds of ammunition. They could have easily defeated the Zulus if they had a defensive position formed from lagers by wagons. And if Chelmsford did not split his troops in half and largered his wagons, his force consisted of around 7,000 strong. He could have easily defeated this Zulu attack. But the commissariats were also biased to who could have ammunition, and if they didn't like the person, they would send them to another commissariat station. This also would delay ammunition being flowed to troops. So if we see, a lot of people could be blamed. Arguments could be made that it was just all Chelmsford's fault for splitting his column and not putting up any defensive positions, or Durnford for riding off his men to the north and east and not taking command when he should have, since he had seniority, or Pulleine itself for spreading his troops too far right then, creating a bit thin British red line, or the NNC for collapsing at a crucial moment when they should have stayed in formation, or the commissariats for not having proper screwdrivers and being biased to who could have ammunition. As we had seen, this battle was a disaster for Britain. It was a shock for Britain. It was to Britain into a state of shock. So after Britain had heard this, they were sending reinforcements to Natal of South Africa. And these would be no native African troops like Chelmsford had. They would be consisting of the red British troops. Wards Drift, the battle that happened just hours later, where over 130 men of B Company would attack against 4,000 Zulus, which I will be talking about in another video, like I said. That wasn't enough to cover up the disastrous defeat at Isandlwana and the humiliation. At Isandlwana, over 1,300 British comrades lay dead. 700 of the British Red Troops, 700 men of the NNC, 100 white settlers, civilians, 2 Royal artillery guns had been lost, a rocket battery had been lost, and 54 officers had been killed. It was a disaster. Now, if you want, you could go check out my video that I posted a couple days ago, or last night, about the Battle of Isandlwana. It's about 23 minutes long, but if you would, you should go definitely check it out. It's a very good video. I hope you enjoyed this. Like I said, this video wouldn't have been that long, because we didn't have that much to talk about. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments down below who you think was in fault. If it was Chelmsford, if it was Durnford, if it was Pulleine, or if it was the NNC and commissariats. If you do, let me know. I hope you like this video, enjoy, stay safe, subscribe because it's free, you can always change your mind. Hit that notification bell so you can always get notified when I post. I hope you enjoy this video, stay safe, stay well, because it's a crazy world we live out there. Have a great week or weekend, and stay safe. I love you all. Goodbye.